Hey, Nathan. Nathan.
Hey, Nathan, area.
I don't know if he can hear us. I've been calling him for like a minute.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Hold on, I'll Slack him.
Can you hear me now?
How about now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Hi.
All right, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed with positive emotion?
Say that again.
Overwhelmed with positive emotion?
It's a mixture. I got my first ticket, and conceptually I know what I need to do, but technically I don't know how to do it, and it's kind of frustrating.
Jira ticket?
And then, yeah, and then I'm behind on my work, so that's even more frustrating because I'm like, which one do I? One is, I'm at the place doing an apprenticeship, and I need to do this because I have a ticket that somebody's going to be waiting on. And the other thing is I need to get my work done because I want to graduate and complete the program successfully too. So it's like,
Well, you tell me, do you feel like this week has been too much? I feel like we've gotten most everything done we need to in class.
Class has been easy breezy this week.
Okay.
So so I get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock to try to figure out to learn Ruby on Rails. I don't know Ruby on Rails, so I need to learn Ruby. I need to learn Rails, and the job requires that. And then, so after I finish, get out of work at 5, it's class time, and then by the time I get out of class, I try to do something, but it's like on top, I have personal stuff going on too. But on top of that, it was like, but I'm still here though. I'm showing up. So
Yep.
I get a second one.
That is that's impressive.
Who is iPad? Oh, that's Nicole.
It's Nicole, yeah. Hey,
Hey,
Nathan, Tiffany, I'm doing the attendance, but Tiffany's going to be a little bit late. So you're going to have it recording for tonight, right?
Yep, we're rolling right now.
Thank you.
Is last night's recording up? Because I didn't see it this morning.
Max handles it, so I would pester him.
All right.
Max made a comment earlier today in the student channel, I believe. I guess Nathan inadvertently did last night's video. So like the person speaking was the one who got on the video, and it was a super fast upload, I guess. So I think it's switching to that. I didn't realize what it was like before, but something about privacy and like cloud upload. So he must have gotten last night's video or getting it into it, or at least starting to upload it in there.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Hey Wayne.
Hello.
Hey everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Evening all.
Evening.
Evening.
Ariel, for your cohort, did you guys have the M1 Max?
Did we have what? I'm sorry.
Did you have the M1 Mac?
Whatever I sent you is what I have. I gotta check. I can check my about me. I'm using the same one from the cohort.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if the Mac that you got was one of the M1 or if it had the Intel.
I
Which was the
have,
M1?
I can tell you. 13-inch M1 2020, Apple M1 8 gig.
Okay. Yeah, this is neither here nor there, but I just recently upgraded from an older Intel MacBook that I had, like a 2017, and I just got one of the new Apple Silicon MacBooks, and my gosh, this speed, it is incredible how much faster these things are, how smooth they are.
Well, you saw me last nightly for 20 minutes because first Zoom updated when I got on. And for some reason, the system update would not let me bypass it. So it kept asking for the password.
Mhm.
And then it would turn around and it kept looping me, password restart now, password restart now. So I finally did it and it took 17 minutes. And I sat here looking at my windows next to me, also in the middle of an update, because I was like, oh, I've got the MacBook for class. It's fine. So I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs and slacking Max crying, like, how do I get out of it? How do I fix it? Oh my God, I know you're not here. I'm sorry. Yeah. So hopefully that's all good tonight, but I recommend everybody checks for updates this weekend and gets that all in before capstone time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you don't want but if you've deployed your capstone, you won't have to worry about having anything running on your Mac.
How about last year? I went up and I got there and I went and I'm like, everything's deployed. It'll be fine. I had a mental breakdown because I didn't connect the Wi-Fi correctly. So I thought I crashed everything, and Max and Caitlin and Karen together had to get together while I cried in the back room because I didn't connect the Wi-Fi correctly, thinking I broke something on Heroku. Once you get the hang of it, it's easy enough, but oh my God, that was terrible.
All right, let's kick things off. So, questions about yesterday. Just a quick reminder what we covered yesterday. Yesterday we punched a ton of buttons and got the front end and part of the back end deployed to Heroku. Questions, thoughts?
Can you
Before we
explain
jump
what Heroku? Can you explain what Heroku again? Like what it is? Like GitHub. What is it?
Yeah, so Heroku is a company that will sell you space to run your code on their servers. So they manage the servers, they manage the network infrastructure, they manage all of that for you. You send them the code, they put it on the internet. Does that make sense?
And right now we have a free version.
Yes, and I'll talk a little bit about that tonight, because there's some things you should probably know before you go into presenting the capstone in a couple of weeks. Did that answer your question, Nicole? Does that make sense? More
Yes,
detail, less?
No, absolutely. That's perfect.
Okay. It's kind of funny nowadays, we don't really think about it a whole lot because we're so used to these big companies like Google and Amazon sort of just existing. But it wasn't 20 years ago that, the only way to really get your code out on the internet was to contract with these data centers that had the, T3 fiber lines going into their infrastructure, physical brick mortar buildings, actually having to buy rack space and these dedicated cabinets, to run your code. Nowadays, yesterday you saw, we just sign up for an account, we push some code, and we don't even have to think about any of the physical aspects of running our software. Other thoughts, questions, comments from yesterday?
Do you how was your like database going in your private that you?
Oh, my home lab. It's still going. Come to office hours. I'll be happy to prattle on and on about it.
Okay,
I was
perfect.
thinking the same thing. I was thinking about that. I remember you showing us your closet.
Yeah, no new shiny things that I could think of really, which is good. It's just continued to chug along. It hasn't, the project hasn't fallen apart. So yeah, come to office hours. I'd be happy to share. Anything else before we kick off?
Hey, Nathan, when did you want to do office hours this week? Normally Max is doing like Sunday around 5. It's a pretty small turnout usually, but I wanted to get it down in the student Slack. So we had enough
Yeah.
time here.
Well, and we've got tomorrow too to talk about it, but I wanted to tentatively throw out there that Saturdays at 10 in the morning work really well for me. If that's around the 10 Eastern, if that works for others, but we could also talk about it tomorrow. But yeah, if you guys want to start thinking about doing it at 10 on Saturday, that would be the best for me. All right. So I've got a couple things that I want to talk about tonight. And obviously the first thing that I want to do is I want to go over finishing the deploy for the back end. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Quick look at the deploy board. This is looking awesome. We've got a whole bunch of green on here, which is what I want to see. We still have except for Zach, who's already started to dive in on the capstone deploys. We have capstone work with Heroku left to do, but other than that, we have at least repos created and the start of our deploy on the blog. So I'm just wanted to make everybody aware of this. This is looking great, and you guys have done a great job this week. All right, so let's talk about the back end. Where last we left off, let's start by logging into Heroku, and I'm going to go and click on my front end and open up the app. And don't feel like you have to do anything just yet. Just follow along with me. I'm going to drive for a minute. So we know that the login credentials are Max. And what was the password? Does anybody remember?
Super secret.
Maybe.
Super secret. Login API call failed. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my network inspector. Take a look, click the login button. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so we left off yesterday. The domain we were making the request to is correct. We're making a post request to our backend through the login API endpoint. Does this look familiar to people? getting caught up from where we were yesterday. And the reason why we're making the call to this endpoint right now is because we went in. I'm going to open up GitHub Desktop to get to my code. I'm here in GitHub Desktop. I've got blog backend selected. I'm going to open up VS Code. Oh, sorry. We don't want the backend. The reason why we're making calls to this API is because we changed the front end code. So I'm going to open up the front end. And here was the edit we made yesterday. We updated the API URL.js to point to our backend. So this is what we got done yesterday after we deployed the backend. We were starting to look at all of the tweaks that we would need to make in order to get the blog to run. I have a question for the class. Yesterday, I didn't say anything about this API URL. We just changed it from localhost, what was it, localhost 3001 to this backend URL. Can anybody think of a reason why that might be a problem for us?
Because we're not on localhost anymore.
We're not on localhost anymore. Why did we use localhost to begin with?
It's on our computer.
Right? So we could develop on our own machine. Right now, if I go into the blog front end, and I'm actually going to do that. So I've got my terminal down here. If I say npm start, meaning I want to debug and work on a local copy of the app, and I hit login, notice how I'm working on localhost 3000. I'm developing my React app locally. Type in max, super secret. Hit enter. Well, the login API call is failing. I don't have a backend running right now on my machine. But if we look at the network and click the login, you'll see that locally, as I'm developing on this app, it's also making calls to my deployed backend. So this is kind of problematic. We don't want it to be localhost 3001 when we push it to Heroku, but when we're working on it on our computers, we don't want it to be Heroku. We want it to be localhost. What can we do here?
You can,
Go ahead, Doug.
I was gonna say, and this might be an overkill, but you could git ignore that file and locally change it to your local backend so that when you push to Heroku, Heroku keeps the one pointing to the Heroku backend.
Oh, that's interesting.
But if one of them changes, I'm sure there's a better way.
Yes, yes.
I was gonna say from a tutorial that I did before that there's like I might be saying this wrong, there's like a process environment variable. So you can use that or your port local host.
So we haven't talked about this yet, but there are things known as environment variables, and we're going to have to talk about them today because Heroku provides us with some environment variables. But I actually have an even simpler way of doing this without using environment variables. Although environment variables are certainly one of the ways that we can go. But I actually have a simpler way of doing it, and I want to show all of you. So if we set this to HTTP localhost, was it 3001? I think it was. And can anybody tell me what const means in JavaScript?
Constant
Supposed to be
variable.
a change.
It means that it's immutable. The value inside of the box API URL, it means that that box can never change.
Change.
So I'm actually going to switch it to a mutable variable with let. And I'm going to say if window.location.host index of, does anybody remember what index of does?
Finds the position in an array or list or something.
It searches for something in a string. So here's the hint for it. So what I'm going to say is if we find inside of the window location host, if we find, let's open up the app really quick. If we find Heroku app in our URL, then don't use localhost 3001, use whatever our backend is. Oh, I know this isn't the right one. This is our front end, but all I have to do is change the name here to backend. There we go. So if we look at the URL and we find that there's a Heroku app in the URL, then switch to using the backend as our API URL. Does that make sense? What would the inverse of this be if we wanted to switch this around?
So the number change.
It's not one.
Index of localhost.
Exactly, index of localhost. So it doesn't really matter which way we write this. So we can flip it around like that if we want. We could look and see, are we running on localhost? Yes. If so, then switch it to using the backend running on 3001. I kind of like this a little bit better, just because we can move this down and then say something like handle if we are running on Roku. And now this code is kind of nicely encapsulated there, and we're always just running by default on localhost. Thoughts, questions?
I got
Optimizations?
two questions. So just to be clear, window.location.host is what is in the address, the URL and the address?
Well, let's find out.
No.
So here we're running on the Heroku app. If I go into the browser and I type window.location, location is an object, so it has a bunch of fancy properties, but host is a property on window.location, and it's a string. It's just a simple string. It doesn't include any paths. So if we were to go here and then look at what window.location.host is, you would see it's still just that first part of the URL. So everything up to the .com.
Okay, and the second question was, is everything that we host on Heroku going to have Heroku app in it? Necessarily?
Good point. Yes. So this code has a couple things to it. Yes, you're right. So what if we had put a Namecheap domain in front of our Heroku app? Then this logic would need to change. We would no longer be able to do an index of and look for just a simple Heroku app. We would have to have whatever it is that our website or our domain name is, we would need to plug that in there. Yep.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
But also, I think something important to call out here is that I'm not doing a very good search. Can you think of any reasons why we might not be searching this window.location.host? Can anybody think of a better way to search in the URL, or a better search term than Heroku app? Notice here that we're doing an index of, and we're just using the word Heroku app. I could go to Namecheap right now and I could buy Nathan's Bargain Heroku app.com, and that would technically match. If we wanted to make sure that this code is only ever triggered when our code is running on Heroku app, we could do a couple things. We could search for a dot And then we could also include a .com here to be a bit more specific. This is kind of a bit more strict of a search term. But anyways,
When
go
you
ahead.
say search for a dot, what do you mean? Like, because outside of that API URL that you already have, what would you do?
So what I'm saying right here is index of is searching the window, it is searching our browser URL. So this part right here. This part of our URL, that is what this function is doing. This window.location.host.index of is it searching for this string in the browser URL. Does that make sense?
Okay, so when you put the .herokuapp.com, that was a different way of just doing Heroku app.
Yes, exactly. So to demonstrate this, let me take this piece of code and come back to the browser and show you what happens when we run this. So we're sitting on this page. This is our URL. I'm going down to the terminal. I'm going to run this code. If I hit enter, it's going to say 19. What does the 19 mean?
That's the position in the string where it's found at.
Exactly. If we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is where Heroku app starts in the string in this URL. So index of goes and searches some string to find the number, the position where it starts. This is also valid, right? Because Heroku app is contained in that string. It's found at position 20 because it's ahead by a dot. But the tangent I'm going on right now is I'm just saying that this is a bit more specific and is going to require that the URL has .herokuapp.com in it. And is just a bit better. So all of that to say that here is some code that you can reuse in your API URL.js. Here is some code that you can use to target your backend when you're running the blog. Don't feel like you have to update the blog. I just want you to have this code because you're going to need it for your capstone. Please feel free to follow along if you want to do the same stuff that I'm doing right now. You can also sit back and while I drive. It's completely up to you. Okay, so now we've handled the case where we want to develop locally and run against our Node.js backend. And we are also handling the case where we want to deploy our front end to Heroku and have the front end be able to call our deployed Heroku backend. Okay. So that is the first thing. Can anybody else think of other changes that we might need to make to the front end in order to be good on Heroku? I think API URL.js is it. I don't think we have to make any other tweaks. Any other tweaks here? Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done with the front end. So how would I go and deploy this change that I just made here? I want to get my most recent blog front end code and I want to get it up on Heroku.
You can go to the terminal or you can go to GitHub Desktop. Or you can
GitHub
go to
Desktop.
that right there in VS Code.
So click into GitHub Desktop. Notice how it's watching that folder. It's seen that I've changed it from just this one line to these changes here. I'm going to say something about update to find backend deployed and local backend. Commit, push. Am I done?
Before you continue, I have a question. All right, so when you make changes in VS Code, right? Because you were mentioning that you guys want us to work in our code on GitHub, but if I make those changes in VS Code and I go back to GitHub Desktop, it would show the changes that I've made. So like just now I said one change. If I made multiple changes, would it show like 5 changes or 7 changes?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Watch,
then I would have to
edit,
edit each of
edit.
those. If I wanted to actually push to GitHub.
So I've just made a bunch of changes to a bunch of different files. I'm going to go back to GitHub Desktop. Notice how it has 4 changed files here on the side.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not so bad. It's really not so bad. Like once you get used to it, it's really not. Yes, Christy.
Sometimes usually when we need to code along, Max does like a live share. What you put in that, with the changes that you made, like I haven't, I didn't start adding them until you explained them, so I wanted to make the changes, and so you were you're moving the screens around, so I haven't been able to keep up with that part.
It's in chat. The snippet that I made,
It's in the,
it's in Zoom.
oh, okay, in the Zoom chat. Let me see.
Also, when I'm done with all of this, all of my code will be pushed up. So don't feel like you need to be copying this down if you don't want to. I'm going to have all of this pushed up, and you can go and reference it on GitHub
Okay.
if you like.
Okay.
In fact, if I'd be
have
thrilled
a-
if folks just wanted to.
Error message that I would like help with.
Do you want to share your screen? Looks good. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Oh, the error message in the terminal. Your account has reached its concurrent build limit. Try again. Do a git push, Heroku. My guess is that you had another build going on in the other terminal. Maybe I've never seen that error before. Build worked, compressing worked. I think you're good.
That's weird, but thank you.
Yeah, that is strange. I've never seen that before. Right. Okay. So going back, if there's no other questions, going back, we're gonna talk about the back end now, because I think the front end is pretty much good. But I just made some changes. I just committed them. I just pushed them to GitHub. I want to see them on Heroku. Does anybody remember what else I need to do in order to get code up on Heroku?
You can push to Heroku too.
Push to Heroku, right? It's not enough to just push to GitHub. So I can do that in my terminal. So I'm here in the front end. I'm going to right click, open in terminal, and say git push Heroku. And just like we saw on Wayne's screen, it's going to do all the deployment stuff.
Dream, you're killing me.
Are you talking to me, Wayne?
Oh no, my son. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I do have one more question though. My bad.
Sure.
So on Heroku backend, if you open the app, it should open the backend where you see in Chrome or Firefox or wherever, you should see like the what we have in the back end when it's connected and everything. We have a it says something.
But
What's-
we don't have the back end running. So as long as
oh,
you have
it's
the
not
front end
running.
deployed,
Okay, cool.
right? As long as you have the front end going, you're all caught up.
All right.
We're about to tackle the back end.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So with that, we've made the push. Here's the link. Remember, it's this third from the bottom. So not this one, not this one, but this one here. Go ahead and click open. And here it is. Okay. So spoiler from yesterday, we knew that something was wrong with the back end. And I mentioned before we left that the back end was falling over, tipping over and crashing. But let's say that we didn't know that it was tipping over and crashing. All we've seen so far is when we go into the browser, we type in Max and super secret. All we know is that when we hit login, we get an error. And the error is, well, we have no response at all. So we've got some errors talking about cores. So we made a change yesterday to add ourselves to the cores list. So let's go look at that. I'm going to open up the backend. Open in VS Code. So here we have some URLs pointing at localhost 3000. This origin property here in the cores middleware section, this origin property will accept a single string localhost 3000. That's what it was. It will accept a single string, or it will accept a list of strings, and you can add as many URLs as you want to expand that list of allowed origins. So what should we put in here? We should put our front end in there, right? Because we want the server to allow the front end to make requests to our back end. So this is kind of an easy change. We're going to allow localhost 3000, which is the front end when we're developing it on our machine, and then the front end when it's deployed on Heroku. We're going to allow both of those. Okay. Same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and make a commit, updated the cores list, make a commit, push it, go into the terminal, git push Heroku to make the deploy to the backend. Then we'll come back to our front end, and as soon as the deploy finishes here, we'll try making the API call again. Okay, deploy is done. I'll go ahead and click login. Let's clear out all the junk in here. Okay, clear that. Okay, press login. All right, still getting errors. It's the same error. It looks like cores request did not succeed. Thoughts?
Is it because we got rid of our node modules and all that extra stuff? Was for with that or no?
It could be, yeah. That could be one of the reasons.
I would
Where will
say
we
that
go?
in the back end, there's like in the server script, all the routes are ported still. I don't know, maybe that doesn't make sense. Never mind.
You are you thinking that the routes might still be attached to localhost, might be binding to localhost still?
That's what I was thinking, but never mind. If we, I don't think maybe they're pushing it back to 3,000. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's possible. That's very, very possible. When here's the problem. So let's go ahead.
Is it
Go
the
ahead, Kristen.
server? Is it the server link?
So there's something definitely going on in the server.
The Beekeeper link that links to the 5432.
Oh, that links to Postgres. Yep, that's another possible culprit. So I'm here in the terminal. I'm sitting in the blog backend folder. How do I run the server?
Run start.
Run start. Okay, so my app crashed.
Is it npm-i first?
NPMI first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, npm.
Oh, well, because you have backup state, you have backup state as a user. That's one of the reasons. So you'd have to change it. You'd have to have the Postgres on your machine, and then you'd have to use your own username instead of backup state.
And you found that out? Why? How did you see that was the problem?
We've done that several times. And
Oh. But I mean, you were able to tell that instantly because of these logs, because you have some output from the server that you can see.
Yeah, I saw backup state, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, role backup state does not exist. It's really nice. It's easy to debug what's going wrong with the back end when you have something to look at, when you have logs. Where are our logs for Heroku? That's my question. How are we going to know? How do we know what's going on with our backend on Heroku? Where is the window?
Yeah, you gotta do it in the command prompt. I mean, no, not command prompt thing.
So to get to your logs, you come in here, you go to the backend or whatever it is that you want to see the logs for, and then up here in the top right, you click More, View Logs. And this is what's going to help us figure out what's going on with our backend. So this window is kind of like our terminal when we run our server locally. This terminal represents Heroku running our code. So any issues going on with our server, we're going to see in this window. So the first step to figuring out what's wrong with our backend, we need to open up the logs. One of the kind of annoying things about Heroku is that you need to have the logs open in order to see the history, meaning that right now it's only recording logs because I opened up this window. So unfortunately, we can't go back in time and look at older logs. We need to keep this window open and then restart our backend in order to see any logs that might be popping up when the app is crashing. So I'm going to keep this window open. Then I'm going to go back to the backend. I'm going to make a small change. All I'm going to do is add an extra line here. That's going to allow me to make a commit in Github Desktop. Then come back into the terminal and do git push Heroku. This is going to trigger a deploy. While that's going, I'm going to open up my log window. So we should see here in this window, we should see some logs here in a second.
How did you get to the logs again?
So in Heroku, click on, let's just start at the dashboard. So go to whatever it is, whatever app you're interested in seeing the logs for. Usually it's going to be the backend that you care about. Click on that. And then not the open app, but right next to it, click More, and then view logs.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Here we go. Here's a log, build started, release, build succeeded, deploy. So these are the logs because Heroku is receiving the deploy that we just kicked off. Boy, these logs are behind. That was 2 minutes ago. So we're just waiting to see the logs when our app starts up because that should give us a clue as to what's going wrong. Okay, I'm gonna refresh and see. No web bro. Yep. Okay, let's try again. I'm gonna go create another deploy, go into VS Code, and I'm gonna change, let's see. I'm gonna go down, change, well, let's change from username Max to Nathan. Come back to GitHub Desktop, create a commit, push. Oops. And then open up my terminal. Git push Heroku. Make another deploy. So the log just started. It's recognized that we are building. Launching V13, come back to Heroku.
Doesn't the backend always crash when we try to log in?
It shouldn't be crashing. Well, it should be crashing. We should just be seeing logs here in Heroku, and for some reason we're not. I'm just gonna look through this really quick to make sure we have all of the things turned on. Okay.
One more, no more after this one, okay, sir? Here.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to demonstrate how the app was crashing when it started up and let us all troubleshoot the reasons why the app wasn't starting. I do know why the app isn't starting, so I think we're going to go ahead and try to fix it. And hopefully by fixing it, it will at least attach itself and start running. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next thing. So if we open up Visual Studio Code and we look at the server, the next problem that we're going to run into is down here. So see right here on line 99, we have this server.listen 3001. Does anybody know what that's doing?
Listen for a request from the front end.
It's going to the local host, right? 3001, the local.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's binding to port 3001 on our machine. And then it's attaching the server to that port. So that's opening up a pinhole for all of these requests. So all of these requests that we bind to the server, all of these routes that we bind, we're attaching that onto the server, and then we're exposing it on port 3001. One of the first things that you'll notice when you stand up an app on Heroku, if you could see it in the logs, one of the first things you'll notice is that it crashes because you can't bind to Heroku's port 3001. Instead, you have to look for an environment variable coming from Heroku that specifies a port. And that is in the slides here. So when you start up the server, there's a special environment variable called port that Heroku provides that you need to bind to. You can't just bind to any port that you want. So to bind to that port, what I like to do is right before we start up the server, I'll do something like this. I'll create a box called port, and then to access the environment variable that Heroku is handing us, we would say process.env. And then process.env is a collection of environment variables. And from that collection of environment variables, there is a port variable that Heroku will provide. So what we do is we start off by looking to see, is there a process env.port? And if we're running on Heroku, then yes, there will be a process env.port. But if we don't have a process.env.port, when will we not have a process env.port? Does anybody know?
You're on your own machine.
Yeah, exactly. When you're running on your own machine. If you don't have this environment variable that Heroku is giving you, then let's set the port to 3001. So this should satisfy both conditions. If we're being given an environment variable from Heroku, we'll use it. Otherwise, if there's not one, we'll default to 3001. And I'm going to quickly save and commit this and see if that makes.
Nathan, could we just like where it says listening, could we just do like process environment port or 3000? So when you say
as an optimization, like, let's see.
Yeah.
We're talking about this.
Yeah.
You can, my clever senses start to tingle a little bit and makes me think that someone's trying to be clever. And this is a little bit harder to read, in my opinion, than this, because what I can do now that I've written this code is I can say something like, if Heroku process.env.port will be provided, otherwise, fall back to localhost 3001. Not saying you're wrong. That's totally a valid piece of code that you're suggesting. But the problem is what you can see next, which is now I've got to cram all of my documentation on this line right here. And arguably that doesn't read as easily as the one above, but yes, to answer your question, yes, what you suggested is also perfectly valid. Don't feel like you have to necessarily copy this code. Again, I'm going to push it to GitHub for your reference. All right. Question so far? Gonna open up and see. Boy, the app is just not binding. This is kind of the nuclear option. This happens every now and again with Heroku, where Heroku is doing something that you don't really understand. I'm just going to delete my Heroku backend. I'm going to create it again. And I'm going to make another commit to trigger a deploy. Go back to VS Code, do another git push Heroku. Open up the logs. Here we go. Here we go. Here's some logs. Does this look familiar to people? Starting process with command npm start. Here's our npx nodemon watcher. Does this look a bit more familiar to people? Again, this is like your terminal, but on Heroku, so you can see what's going on with your server as it's running. Okay.
I have a question. Real
Yes, please.
If you use another server, do they have these type of logs here where you can see that, or is this just something that's
What do you mean by other type of server?
like if you use like another server other than Heroku, or you know what I mean? Like how would you, or if I try to use it, if I use another, yeah, like if I don't use Heroku.
Mhm.
would
Yeah,
I-
if you use something else, they're going to provide you with something similar. Yeah. Otherwise, people wouldn't really use whatever it is because you kind of can't
be with-
work without seeing this stuff.
right.
You know, like otherwise you're kind of shooting in the dark. Like we would be sitting there at the terminal guessing at, okay, what do we think is busted? What are we gonna, you need something like this, right?
Right, okay.
Yeah, good question. And they all look different. Like Heroku's, this log page has its own quirks. Like I mentioned, you need to have this window open while you're doing things. Otherwise, you can't see any of the older logs. If I refresh the page right now, we wouldn't see any of this because it would all drop off. But
Okay.
AWS, on the other hand, if you deployed things on AWS, CloudWatch is their logging platform and their stuff that looks like this. AWS is CloudWatch. You can go back weeks and you can use all kinds of search queries in order to filter your logs. Everybody has something a little bit different.
And I see at the bottom right, you can save it. So what does that do? What would that?
I believe this is going to spit it out as a TXT. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
same kind of thing. I guess you could search inside of this a little bit easier.
Okay.
All right. Christy, I'm going to guess that you know what's going on. What is this error? You know, you just told me.
How about the SQLized?
Can you see it on my screen? There's a ton of stuff going on, but there's a specific log message that tells us what's going on right here.
Where it says express session deprecated undefined.
Close. Warmer.
Oh, connection callback. Oh yeah, connection yeah, Postgres connection manager. .js. Yeah, I see that. Oh, 542. Yeah.
5432. Yep. Anybody have a guess at what's going on?
It's connected
That's
to
the Postgres connection in your db.js.
Yep. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday about you know, the practicality of customers bringing us their own database. You know, can we expect customers to have their own Postgres installed on their phones when they come and visit our website, or have Postgres installed on their laptop? So we need to come up with a way to connect to Postgres, and it's actually really easy to do with Heroku. So if you want a Postgres database, click on this resource tab, and there's this section here called add-ons. You'll come in here, there's a whole bunch of stuff that Heroku will provide you with for free, but one of the things that they'll provide you with is they'll provide you with an instance of Postgres. So if you come in here and type add-ons, click Postgres, they'll let you pay $16,000 a month if you want, but you can also just get a free one.
What is, wait. Click add-ons. My, oh. Maybe I did something wrong.
If you search here in the add-ons box and type in Postgres, do you not see Postgres offering?
I think I did something wrong. Let me see. Oh, I have to type it in.
Should we add Beekeeper while we're at it?
But so
Beekeeper?
which one do
What
we
is-
select on Heroku? Okay.
Never mind.
We'll come back to that in a second, Nicole. Chrissy, did you find Postgres?
Yes, I did.
All right. So once you install Postgres, that makes it available to your Node.js app. There's a whole article on how to work with Postgres. I'm going to condense it and show you how to do all the things that you might need to do with Postgres. Specifically, Nicole, how to connect to it with Beekeeper. So now that we have Postgres, we need to be able to connect our app to it. So come back into GitHub Desktop. I'm in the blog backend. I'm going to open up VS Code.
I'm sorry, Nick. Well, where did you find that again? The add-on?
Come to the resources tab. So we've been on the deploy tab and kind of on the overview tab, but go to the resources tab. Click on the add-on section here. Start typing in Postgres and you should see Heroku Postgres.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Going to our backend code, what do we need to change to connect to a different Postgres?
db.js.
db.js, okay. What do we need to change?
The sequelize line 4.
Okay. So we need something that kind of looks like this. We need to know what the username is, what the host is, and what the database is that we're connecting to. To find out these things, you can go into a terminal and click open an integrated terminal. You can go into a terminal and type in Heroku Config. And for anybody watching this broadcast later, I will make sure that this Postgres is no longer available. So don't try to come in here and mess with it. But anyways, this is the connection string for your Postgres that you added onto your app.
Config.
What if we don't
And
get,
see, go ahead.
what if we don't get that? I put in Postgres, I put in what you said, Heroku config, and I got an error.
Did you do it in your backend folder for the app that you made the?
Nope, I did it right in the terminal. So go to the integrated terminal.
So go to wherever the code is for the app that you added Postgres to. Because I
Okay.
think if you do
I got it.
Heroku config outside, yeah, it's going to say that you need to tell it what app to use.
And then we'll just put that in the SQLs.
You can. Let me show you a little bit better way to do that. Let me first get back into my folder. Log backend. Okay, so Heroku config, you'll see that this is one of the environment variables that they provide, database URL. So just like port, this is another one of the database, this is another one of those environment variables that Heroku will give you. So if we want to access that environment variable, what do we type? How do we get to our environment variables, the box that holds on to all of our variables?
process.env.uppercase database _ URL.
Perfect. Yep. Remember, process.env is the box, and inside of it is all the environment variables that that your app may have access to. So far, we've talked about port and database URL. These are the two environment variables that Heroku gives you. So when we run our app, Heroku will take this and substitute it with this long string right here. So to answer your question, Wayne, yes, we could do that substitution ourselves. We could take this and put it there directly. But the reason why you may not want to do that is because if this changes for some reason, because either
manually change it.
yeah, then you'll have to go back and manually change it. This helps safeguard you from any changes in the future. Okay. There's also a little bit more work that we have to do for Heroku. And I have it listed here on the slides, or I had it listed there on the slides. We need to add a couple of we need to add a little bit of extra configuration here. Okay, this is code that you'll find in the Heroku documentation for dealing with the SSL certificate that the Postgres that Heroku provides. To put it briefly, Heroku provides you with a free Postgres database. That free Postgres database comes with a self-signed TLS certificate, and you need to have this reject unauthorized set to false because it's self-signed. There is nothing else to check the validity of that certificate. We don't really need to check the validity of the certificate anyways, because we can trust that Heroku is providing us with a valid database. So we need to add these dialect options when we're talking to our Heroku Postgres database. Again, you don't have to copy this down right now. All of this will be on GitHub. You're more than welcome to take this code and use it for your capstone. So now we have the correct code for connecting to the Heroku database. Before I push this up, I want to ask the question again, what about localhost? What about when we're developing our app locally? Is this going to work?
No.
It's not going to work because we don't have a database URL environment variable when we're running locally. We have this. This is what it should be, right? When we're developing on our machine against our Postgres. So we need to do a similar piece of code like we did before with the port in order to successfully handle both cases. So I'm going to do kind of the same thing that I did with the port before. I'm going to start off by setting database equal to process.env.database URL. And then if we didn't get a database URL, set it to the normal, the local Postgres on our computer. And then I'm also going to change this to use this variable. Okay. Are we all good?
Yeah.
No, I'm not, but so are we following along? Or are we not?
Yeah.
It's up to you. It's up to you. If you want to follow along, feel free to. Otherwise, all this code is going to be up on GitHub for you to use
No,
later.
I do want to follow along because I want to make sure I can see that things are working on my end. But
Okay.
yeah, I do. Like, can you drop it in the? Can you start a live share? And if we don't get it, we can refer back.
Sure.
Thank
Let's
you.
see. Live share. And then to get a link to it, there it is.
We usually have it put into chat for us to
It's
or-
in Zoom chat. Does that
Okay.
work?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Always accept.
Cool beans.
Nicole, were you able to get in?
I'm on my way.
All right.
So Nathan, does that
Yes.
SSL require and reject unauthorized? Does that still apply if our database URL is the local host?
Good catch. Good catch. Yes, that is the next thing that we need to talk about here. So we don't require SSL when we're using our local Postgres database. So this block of code right here, we don't want to have when we're developing locally. So how do we enable this configuration when we're local? Or sorry, how do we enable this configuration when we're on Heroku and disable this configuration when we're developing locally?
Using that window hosting majiggy.
Sorry?
Using that window location hosting majiggy.
No, let me back up. So what Doug is pointing out is that when we are deployed, or sorry, when we're developing locally, we don't want to have any of these dialect options. This whole section, this whole configuration is only needed when we're on Heroku. So we don't want to have this enabled when we're running locally, but we do want to enable it when we are on Heroku. So how can I
Right,
turn
so-
this section?
So if you use that trick that you used before to switch between the URLs, wouldn't that work if we're on Heroku.app?
Mhm.
But use this piece of code. If not, use the regular, get rid of, don't use it.
Yeah, totally. And right here we have a block. So if not database URL, then this means we're on localhost. So we have code right here, else we're not on localhost. So we have code right here. We have logic that can handle both cases. So we have code to handle flipping between those two modes. My question is, how do we take this JavaScript object right here, this dialect options? How do we take this and turn and fill this out and take it out, depending on what environment we're trying to deploy to? Does anybody know?
Oh, that's inside an object. That's an argument for the function. Can we build
Yes.
an object and then just pass the object?
Yes, totally. That was going to be my next question. What is this? What I have highlighted here? I'm trying to carefully highlight this. What do I have highlighted right there? Doug knows. I'm hoping somebody else can answer. What do I have highlighted? What in JavaScript is that?
Highlighted. Where?
Right here on can you see on my screen this section right here?
Array or something.
Doug just said it.
Oh, what is it?
Yeah, I don't know specifically what it is, just generally what it is.
That's what it is.
Over my head.
What is it, Larry?
Doug said object.
It's an object, right? Right. This is an object. Exactly.
We thought it was something
This-
different or extra, like.
No.
I thought it was something new I done missed.
Right.
I swear I'm not trying to trick anybody here. This is
Feels like it.
I swear I'm not. I am not out to get anybody. This is just an object. This is just an object. So we can treat it like an object, which means that we can do the same trick that we have up above, where we'll start off with making, let's do, these are our options. Let's call this our options. And let's start off by having it just be, let's start off by having it be logging false. If we're not on localhost, let's change options and add dialect options to it. I went a little bit fast there, but follow along with me. So we're going to go through the case where we're on localhost. Options is going to get set to an object with one property, logging false. So localhost, we're running on localhost. Database process m.database URL, is that going to have anything in it if we're running on localhost?
No.
No, right. Database URL is a special environment variable given to us by Heroku. So this condition, if not database URL, is going to evaluate to true, which means that we're going to get the localhost URL for our database running on our Macs. And we're going to skip this block. So then we'll fall through and we'll set up our database connection. Let's go through this one more time. If we're doing Heroku, we'll start off with options, logging set to false. Database URL will be filled with some string given to us by Heroku. We'll check to see if not database URL. This will be false because database URL is true. So we'll fall through to this else block, which then adds the dialect options property and fills out the SSL tweak that we need in order to connect to Heroku successfully using Postgres. Questions? There's one other way. I just want to show this really quick. There's one other way that might be slightly easier to read. We could start with options being completely empty. So an empty object, no properties, no functions, no nothing. And in both of these sections, we could fill it out completely. So take this, put it here. And then take the same options and come down here. Drop the dialect options for the part where we're on localhost. Okay, let me zoom out just a little bit so we can see the whole picture here. So read through this really quick. Options is an empty object. If we're running on localhost, we're not given a database URL. We initialize options with just logging. Otherwise, we fill out options with all of the tweaks we need. Does that read a little bit easier than what we had before to anybody else?
To me, yes.
Okay, to me, it reads a little bit easier too, just declare the whole options based on which case you're running. All right, and then we'll plumb the options variable into the second argument of the sequelize call right here. And we're off to the races. We now will have a working Postgres. So let's go ahead and do a commit. We wrote a whole lot of code, so we got a big change here. Make the database work deployed, commit, push. And then let's do the actual Heroku deploy. I'm not totally concerned with people understanding fully the different, what this block of code is doing here, but I'm hoping that people are following along and understand the general idea of the if statement, the else statement that we just wrote. But this code, again, is going to be on GitHub later for you to use.
And it's git push Heroku.
Yep, once you've committed all of the code that you want to deploy to Heroku, you do git push Heroku. Yep. View logs. Okay, we're crashing still. See here, we've got app crashed. This is where it's kind of frustrating again, because I didn't have this window open. So now I need to wait for the app to restart to show me the logs, because all I can see is the cutoff there. Here we go, it's restarting. Starting process with command npm start. Here it comes. All right.
So it's fine now.
It is not. Here is app crashed. So we still got a little bit more going on. Does anybody have an idea what's going on here?
It's still not connecting to the database.
There you go.
It says something
Well,
about is it users does not exist?
good catch.
Right.
Yes. So
Database.
that tells us what? It tells us that we are at least connected, because if it's telling us that it can't find users relation, that means it's connecting to the database, but something's not in the database. So we're further along. What does relation users does not exist mean? Does anybody know?
Is that from user.js?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go take a look. Opening up Visual Studio Code, let's go take a look at users.js. Okay. So this is the user table. And here on line 5, we do a define user. If I
Right.
go and look at the logs, relation users does not exist. That sure looks like
Is it? There's an S on there.
So you literally just have to add the S.
No,
No.
I don't know a whole lot about SQLize, but I'll bet SQLize tacks the S on for you.
Hmm.
I don't think good catch. That could be the error, but I don't think that it's incorrect.
Yeah. I think but aren't our users in Beekeeper? Like, isn't the rest of our information in Beekeeper?
It is.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
On
So-
line 10 and
So let's pull. Go ahead.
on line 10 and server JS, we do cons first user. I'm wondering it's not based off of sorry, not line 10. 140.
My code is going to be a little bit different than yours. Are you saying create first user? Yes. This,
mhm.
Wayne, was this what you were talking about?
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yes. Good catch. Excellent catch, Wayne. Yes, this is the source of the problem right here. Create first user. So the app is standing up. We call server.listen. We continue executing our code as the app stands up. We call the function create first user. Create first user goes and tries to find users in the database, and that is what's causing the error right now. It's saying I can't go and find anything in the database because I don't have a user table. I don't have a user schema.
Hmm.
Mhm. So how do we import our database to Heroku?
Good question. That is the solution. Yes, we need to figure out how to get those tables set up. Yep. And Max has code to do that. Unfortunately, I'm going to pick on him for just a little bit. Don't tell him when you see him next time, but I'm going to pick on him for a little bit. There is this create first user call where we're trying to insert a user, but there's also a sync call. If we go and look up here at user, where is the sync happening? Oh, right here. So on line 35, db.sync. This is actually going to create the tables if they don't exist. It's going to create the schemas for you inside of Beekeeper. It's going to create those empty tables for you. The problem is that this line here is running after the create first user, which means that the tables aren't getting created before we call this code to create the first user. So we have two options here. We can go and import our tables using Beekeeper into this Postgres, or we can fix the code here to automatically create our tables for us in this Postgres and then create the first user. We can do either way, and I'm going to show you how to do both. But I just wanted to pick on Max for a second because this was a little bug in here. Yep.
FYI, I'm not sure why this code is different, but some of us have first user and second user for this, so. Just
okay.
FYI. So if we start making changes, we have two users instead of just one.
Okay, no worries. You want, I can make another user. Done. Okay. So I want to start though with Nicole. I want to answer your question about Beekeeper because Beekeeper is kind of a nice tool to be able to understand what's going on with your database. If you want to get connected to the, if you want to connect to the Postgres running in Heroku, let me show you how to set that up with Beekeeper. So open up Beekeeper Studio.
Uh-huh.
Try to blow this up a little bit. And we're going to make a new connection. It's going to be Postgres.
Is it
The
gonna be?
connection, go ahead.
Oh, no, finish. Go ahead.
The connection type is going to continue to be host and port, but host is no longer going to be localhost. We need to use the credentials that we got from Heroku. So to see those credentials again, you can go into a terminal in the app that you have Heroku Postgres enabled for, and you can say Heroku Config to see that big environment variable again. And this is where we kind of have to break apart the different pieces to this string, this big long string that you see right here.
Quick
So
question.
go ahead.
How in Beekeeper do we start a new session if we've already got one running?
Right.
I found the easiest way to do that is to completely close out of Beekeeper, which you could reopen your connections. But I found that the easiest way is to just hit Command Q to get out of it completely and then reopen Beekeeper Studio. I don't use Beekeeper a lot, so I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you. I think you could
Yep.
also go up in the top and hit New Window.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
And then, let's see.
Should there be anything in the port?
Yes, port needs to continue to be 5432. I'm going to put this side by side though with the with what I got from my terminal. So you're trying to find the credentials. Everybody's credentials are going to be different because everybody gets a different Postgres when they sign up for one on Heroku. So what you want to do is you want to take this string right here, and we're going to need to break it apart. And I want to show you how to do that. So you have to kind of look carefully. But the first thing that you see here in the string, the first thing that you see up into the colon, that's actually the username. So copy that and put it down in the user box.
Okay.
I have a confession to make.
Yes, please.
I haven't made any commits, so I don't think I have anything in my terminal.
Okay. All of this is on the slides. If you want to quickly create a Postgres for one of your Heroku apps, you can do that to catch up. Otherwise, all the stuff is in the slides too for
Okay.
The next one,
reference.
the
What do you? Sorry.
sorry, is the next one the password?
Yes, exactly. The next one up into the @ sign is the password.
That's it.
Mhm.
What do you want to do, Nicole?
I'm just gonna go back through the slides.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then the next one
Oh,
at the @ sign, this ec244.compute-1.amazon.aws, all the way up to the colon in the 5432, that is the host. So replace localhost with EC2, and then it should end with AmazonAWS.com. Lastly, everything after the slash, that is
Wait,
the
what?
default date.
Wait one
That is the
second.
default database.
Mhm.
And you,
So you said,
sorry, the E, what, where you put that?
The EC244 all the way up to the .com, that is the host.
Okay.
And remember, because we have that SSL block when we were connecting to it, we also need to enable the enable SSL. And then you should be able to hit test. And everything should
The last thing after the colon is the port.
The port, yeah, the colon 5432, that's the port that should already be in there, but everything after the slash should be, it should go in the default database box.
So don't put the 5432 again, or yes, put everything,
Well,
or
you should already have the 5432 there, so just leave it.
I wiped it out, so.
Oh, put
so
it
should
in. Yes, please.
Okay,
And then you can give it a name if you want. My Heroku backend.
where your name is?
I'm gonna feel really silly if Beekeeper just lets you post a URL in here. No way. Okay, I'm so sorry, folks. Apparently, you can just click the import from URL and paste that in. Let me do that really quick. Just to make sure. Nathan is dumb. Import from URL. Import. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, everybody. You
we
don't
could've
need
just
to do
did that whole-
surgery. You don't need to do
I
surgery.
was
I'm an
just
idiot.
did the whole thing. All right, let's try
You
it.
can right click, you can click up here, import from URL, paste that whole big thing that you got from Heroku, and it will pre-fill everything out for you. So sorry.
And then connect.
Yep, and then you can connect to it.
I
I
mean,
just double click.
that URL.
So should we have cleaned the stuff back out? The stuff that we put in, should we have cleaned it back out? Because the mine gave me.
If he gave you an error, yeah, get rid of that connection and just do the URL.
I'm happy to know how the URL is broken down now.
Cool. I'm glad somebody found it interesting. All right, I think we're 5 minutes away from a break. Does anybody have any other questions?
Right,
I have a question about when we do Heroku config in the terminal. Does terminal know what to do with that? Because we installed that app with Brew, the Heroku. How does terminal know what to do when we type Heroku config?
Are you asking how it knows what Heroku, the word, means, or how Heroku config knows what app you're using?
How terminal knows what that command means?
Oh, terminal knows what command that means because terminal goes and looks in specific folders for words that it understands. A really popular one is a folder called user bin. So these are all the words that these are some of the words that terminal understands. And when you brew install, brew puts the Heroku word inside this folder. So it always starts by looking in this folder. Every time you type something, ls, any word that you type in the terminal, it goes and looks in these folders for a program that matches that name. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Yep. Other questions? Christy?
So was I supposed to hit save or was I supposed to hit connect?
Save, yes. Make sure to save the connection that you make.
And then I don't have to connect.
So after you save it, you should have something over here on the side. Do you see your connection?
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that. So I don't
Double
need to
click on
try to connect. So I tried to hit connect and that's what gave me, there was a problem. So did I go too far?
If it gave you a problem, then there's a problem. Can you share your screen? I'll stop sharing mine.
Okay. So see, I have this, but
Yep.
I tried to hit connect and then it gave me a problem. So I don't-
Anybody? This is for anybody else. Anybody potentially see the issue here?
Is already on my Heroku? Or?
I
Right
think we're
there.
actually editing that right now, is my guess, but it's something else. Does anybody happen to see?
The host?
Nope.
Let's see.
Yeah, Amazon.com and those.
He didn't enable the SSL.
Good catch. Yep, it's the SSL. Yep. Try, Christy, before you hit connect, try test. Cool. Yep, now you can connect.
I don't have my glasses today. I've misplaced them in the house, so I'm a little off.
You're good. Looks great.
Table does not exist.
You got stuff over on the left.
Oh, so that's fine.
Yes, this is all Postgres internals. The
Okay.
information schema is a special Postgres schema.
Okay.
Yeah, now you're good to go for what's next, Larry.
So now when I try to go look for my database, the stuff I have all these weird numbers. You see it?
Yes, that's I believe those are other instances in the Postgres database. But what you have currently listed right there is what's in your Heroku database right now. To get to your other database though, you would need to open up another window because you need to make another connection to your local Postgres database if you're trying to see both of them side by side, which is what I'm guessing you're after, right?
Well, I was just trying to see my stuff on Heroku.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right now on Heroku, all we have is the information schema, and I don't know what was the other one? The other PG catalog?
Oh, so we don't have a user, we don't have the user and none of that stuff?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Or what we would normally see in our other one.
Yeah, that's the clue to what we need to figure out next. Yep. Christy, you have another question, or are you good?
Oh, I gotta lower my hand, sorry.
Okay. With that, I think we're ready for a break. 20 minutes. See everybody at 7:30.
Thank you.
Nicole, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, I feel really bad for leaving you behind because you are the one person I want to have using.
That was the fastest break ever.
Nicole, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah. I did kind of like just worked on it a little bit while I was reading. Can you see my screen? So
Oh, cool. You're caught up. You're getting the same error where you're trying to
oh, well, I just
wait. Hold on. Go back. See that error right there? Web process failed. Oh shoot. Can you click back to the other web process? Yeah. See that error where it says failed to bind to port within 60 seconds of launch?
Yep, right here.
Yep. So that means that your server.run inside of server.js, that means that it's not using the process env port. So yep, if we go back to server.js, scroll up on 104. So you've got the code right. We just need to deploy. Okay, got it. Got it. Your code's good. Okay, we just need to do a deploy. So from GitHub Desktop, yeah.
I pushed everything up, but I don't know. I just went and started pushing everything up.
Oh, okay. So you've pushed everything to GitHub. Now let's do a push to Heroku. So come back into the terminal. Git push Heroku.
Is there a git command that I was supposed to do?
No, you're all good. Just git push Heroku, and that should deploy the backend. You're in blog backend. Everything up to date.
Oh, sure.
Just make another little change here. I don't know, add a new line or something. Yeah, that works. Save.
Oh, can I just do like,
No, we have to make a commit. So make sure you save your server.js. I don't think it's saved. Okay. Custom or blog backend. Yep. You can, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, good call. Push to origin as well. That's going to push it to GitHub. Okay, let's go back to the terminal. Do the git push Heroku.
1 second.
Perfect. Come back over. Let's go look at the logs while this is pulling.
Oh, what logs? Oh, in here.
Yep, those logs. Perfect. Just keep it here on the screen. You should be good here. Crash to starting. We're running the. Oh, I think this is old code. It's going to take it a second to.
Okay.
Nope. That's it.
All right.
Scroll up in the logs. Keep going. What's the error? You see it?
Users
Yeah.
does not exist.
What does that mean?
I probably just gotta fix the user code.
Your user code is fine. It's that the database doesn't have a table for users. So you're all caught up.
Okay.
Oh, Beekeeper. Let's do Beekeeper real quick. Now that we know how to easily
I just
open
gotta
up
open the door and then I'll come back.
Okay. Just gonna get Nicole.
Shantina, thank you. There's no worries there. Sorry, Nathan. It wouldn't let me type. I wanted to let her know. I've got her marked for here.
Cool.
Thank you.
Just wanted to take a second before we went any further to let Nicole catch up and open up Beekeeper.
I'm back.
It seems
Okay,
like we're
great.
missing a lot of people today.
1 second. Okay, so I kind of went ahead again, but I think I did it wrong.
I
One-
just thought
Nope.
that.
This is right. No, you're good. You're set. It
It's
should look
supposed
empty.
to have all of these extras.
Those are other schemas. Ignore the rest of those. Just leave what you got selected.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. So you're all caught up. Wayne, did you have something you want to say?
I didn't hear that last thing you said if you were talking to me.
No, I was asking. I heard Wayne. I wasn't sure if Wayne was saying something. All right. So where we were before the break, we are all logged into our Heroku, our remote Postgres running on Heroku. And the error we're coming across right now is relation users does not exist. And the reason why is because the users table along with the post table is not getting set up correctly. And I wanted to explain really quick because I think I maybe said this a little bit too fast, and I want to make this point before we move on. We're running into what's known as a race condition, where we have two things trying to occur at the same time. When the server starts up, the server is trying to bind to whatever the port is that Heroku gives it. It's trying to bind to the port so that it can have all of these API routes that you see here: post, post with ID, login status. So the server is trying to connect to the port. The database is also trying to connect to our Heroku instance. And then we're also trying to inject users into the database. So all three of those things are happening at the same time. And when you have multiple things happening at the same time, there's a potential for what are known as race conditions. And the race condition that we're seeing right now, the issue that we're coming across right now, is that we're trying to create users before the database has time to connect to our application. And what we need to do in order to fix this is we need to give the server time to connect to the database, set up the tables if they don't exist, and then create the users. Otherwise, we're going to keep running into this error where we try to create the users before anything happens, and then the app's going to crash and nothing's going to occur.
Can we just comment it out, or we have to do something?
Well, we can just comment to that. That would be an option. And that would fix it the first time that we deploy. So if we comment this out, that's going to let the database connect. And then it's going to let the database create the tables that we need. Then we could effectively uncomment this, which would allow us to create those relations when the server stands up again. So that is a solution, yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is a solution. Can anybody think of any issues with that solution? This is a tricky one, I know, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. The issue with that solution is that it will work as long as we're using the same database. If we ever go to deploy our backend on another Postgres instance, we'll need to do the same thing again because we'll run into the same bug. The database tables won't be there. Therefore, we'll have to come into the code, comment this out, stand up the application, then uncomment this, then redeploy the application. We'll have to do that same thing again. Arguably, the best solution for this is what I'm about to show, which is take these calls right here where you see the database, take them and cut them out, move them over into DB.js, and where we're doing the connect to DB function here, paste this in, and then take the calls to actually trigger the inserts where we create the user. Take these calls where we actually trigger those inserts and move them to after the DB sync. Switch the DB sync to await. So we're going to wait till the DB is fully synced up, and then we're going to create the first and second user. Again, this is going to allow us to sync, which is going to create the tables if they don't exist. And then we're going to follow that up with the first user and second user. And I think create first user and second user, I think these both are, these are both asynchronous functions. So what could we do here if we wanted to? On these two lines where we call these functions, what could we do here? Because they are asynchronous.
Await.
We could await these, yeah. Do we need to await them? Technically, no, because we're not doing anything. We don't have any kind of code that we're trying to run after we finish all of this. But yes, they are asynchronous functions, which means that they return a promise that we can await. Okay. So that should fix our bug and should automatically create the tables and create our first and second user. I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal to create another. Sorry, before I do that, I'm going to go and commit. So db.js has changed a little bit. Server.js, I removed that function. Update to move around the user seating. So we've got a commit. Now I'm going to do a git push Heroku.
I'm sorry. I missed a step. We just doing git push Heroku again.
I created a commit because I changed some code. So I
Okay.
went over to GitHub Desktop, I made a commit, pushed it, and then I came over here and then did a git push Heroku.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, let's take a look at the logs. So this is from just a second ago. Reference error, bcrypt is not defined. At create first user. Does anybody know what this error is?
You have to import bcrypt to the other file where you switch the stuff at.
Good catch. By moving that over, I no longer had the library bcrypt imported, so I need to move this up here. Just
How
gonna
come we don't copy it? Why do we just move it?
Why don't we just move it?
No, how come we just, oh, did you copy it or did you just move it entirely?
The import?
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved it completely. I don't think we need it anymore in server.js because I think the only thing that was using bcrypt was the seeding for the or this hashing for the passwords.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I don't think, I'll double check because that would be the smart thing to do. Nope, we're also using bcrypt over here when we're hashing the password that the user is sending in. So we need to have imports in both files. So a bcrypt import here in db.js, as well as an import in server.js as usual. So again, I'll make another commit, fix bcrypt imports, commit, push, and then also push to Heroku. And go look at the logs. This is where the interesting stuff. Let's see, did I get it right? Is it actually gonna work? Starting, come on. It's not crashing, it's not dying. All right, if the code works successfully, we should be able to open up Beekeeper, refresh, and see some tables.
You have to refresh up, the first refresh up top next to query, to the left of query one. To the left.
Oh, this.
Yeah, then push the down arrow. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my local Beekeeper instance. Let me make sure I'm connected to the Heroku backend. There we go. There we go. Sorry, I was in the wrong database. Now I have posts and users. So I have tables. And inside of users, I have Nathan and Bob. So I have 2 valid users in my Postgres database. Did I confuse the heck out of people? Is anybody wondering what's going on? Unsure about what's happening? Alternatively, we can take the data that's in our local Postgres and move it into here. Is anybody interested in seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So to do that, I found that I'm not a beekeeper expert, but to do that, I have found a way that seems like it works okay. So open up a new window, get them both side by side. So I'm going to open up my Max Postgres here, and then I've got my Heroku over here on the left. I'm going to switch to my log database. Okay, so I've got Mac over here, Heroku over here on my right. I found that the best way to do this is to go and click the export on whatever table it is that you want to get, you want to move over. And instead of exporting it to CSV, export it as SQL statements. So if I run this, I will get a file. So I will get a file with some SQL in it. And this is just SQL statements that are inserting each row. If you have a bunch of data in your table, then your SQL file will have a lot more. But the gist is right click, export it as SQL, and then come over to wherever you want to import it and get a query window open. One of the easier ways to get a query open is to right click and hit SQL create, and it will automatically open up a window for you. But open up a window either way. Open up your SQL file, which I just had open. Open up your SQL file, copy all the contents, paste it into this window here. So whatever's in your SQL file that you downloaded, paste it here, and then just click run. I'm running into an issue because I have users in my table here. So if I want to insert the exact same data, I need to come in here and clear everything out. So I'm going to delete everything in Heroku first. Now I can come back here and run that query. And if I come and look at the users table, now it has just the one user that was on my Mac. I went a little fast. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah.
Could you do the part again? How did you export to get the SQL?
Sure. So go to the table, posts. I have nothing in posts. Let me create something on my Mac really quick in the post table, and we'll do it on the post side. ID is 1, title is hi, content is some stuff. Let's see. We need a timestamp TZ.
Max told us it's capital NOW with execution parentheses.
Oh, like this?
Yes.
I believe it was for updated and created for both of them, yes.
Ah, you guys are so smart. That's right. Postgres has a macro for inserting the current timestamp. Thank you. You guys teaching me something. All right, we got something here in the post table. We're going to move it over to the Heroku post table. Right click on the post table, the source. Click on export. Make sure that you switch the output to SQL.
Should we test if we're connected to before all that?
Are you talking about when you're setting up the connection?
Yeah, the server and the DB.js, if all of that actually connected, because it should reflect in Beekeeper, right?
Yes. Yeah, it should.
And
You
if it,
don't have to do what I'm doing right now.
okay.
Yeah, what we just did should set up all of those tables. And then if you go and look at it in Beekeeper, the user and the post table should be there.
And if it doesn't, that means there's a error issue, right?
Yeah, check the logs for your backend and see what's happening. It might still be crashing for some reason, some other reason. Yeah, we can take a look here in a second. But just to finish this, once you've exported it to a file, just open it up in some text editor, VS Code, anything. Open it up in some editor, grab whatever's in there, copy it. And then over where you want to copy it to, open up a query window. I think you can just do that by clicking up here, paste it, and then run. That will effectively import the same. So now if I go and click on the post table, I'll see the same data that was on our Mac.
Thank you.
Yep. Think just want to check really quick. I know there's some other stuff to talk about tonight. I just want to make sure that I cover all the important stuff. Okay, so there's a couple things that I'll mention tomorrow at the beginning of class, but tomorrow is going to be primarily us working on getting the capstone uploaded to Heroku. So we've been, hopefully today you've been watching, maybe you've been coding along with me, but tomorrow we're going to work on whatever folks have for their capstone. We're going to get it deployed onto Heroku. If you don't have code for either the front end or the back end, we're going to write it quickly so you at least have something to push up there. And tomorrow we're going to make sure that everybody walks away with something that they can show for presentations. But before we get into tomorrow, I'm going to talk about a couple things at the beginning of class. But the one thing that I want to mention tonight before I let everyone go is Heroku would love to have your money. Heroku would love for you to spend some money. And I'm not a salesperson for Heroku, but I'm going to mention that there are a couple bonuses to giving them some of your money. And perhaps you might give them some of your money until graduation and then stop giving them money. I'm being kind of vague. Let me explain. When you're using the free tier on Heroku, they will shut your application off when it's not being used. And it's really annoying because it's slow to start back up. An example of that is the deploy board, the website that I've been showing our progress. This is hosted on Heroku. When I get online in the morning and I refresh this page, it will take somewhere between 7 to 15 seconds for the website to show up. And that's because Heroku will put things to sleep and then it will spin them back up when somebody tries to visit the website. That's really annoying in general, but it's going to be extremely annoying on presentation day when you go to show your capstone and you're stressed out and you've got nerves and you're going to try to show your website and it's taking 15 seconds and you're thinking to yourself, is it broken? Thinking the worst that's possibly happened. So my recommendation is be aware of that. And if you really want to make things smooth and easy for yourself, pay the $7 to upgrade just temporarily until graduation. And I know you can expense things through Hack Upstate. Just pay the $7 to have the upgraded version that doesn't go to sleep. And I want to show really quick how to do that before I answer your question, Christy. To go and upgrade your backend so it doesn't sleep and your front end so it doesn't sleep, really the more important of the two is the front end. You just click here and then change the dyno type. So click the configure dynos. And then here on the change dyno type, switch from free to hobby. And that will make it so your app doesn't go to sleep. You don't have to do it now. In fact, you don't have to do it at all if you don't want to. If you want to just be aware of that little quirk with Heroku. Anyways, I thought I would bring that up just because it can be a little bit. Okay.
Can you click on it to see how much it is for a year?
Oh, yeah, $7.
For a whole year or $7 a month?
$7 a month. Yeah.
Times 12, maybe you get a discount. So 84.
Nathan, I don't know if you
Yes.
mentioned my audio is cutting in and out. I believe there is a Heroku plan in the GitHub student pack where it might be a discount on 6 months or something like that. I think, at least I have one in mine. I'm not sure if they have different student packs. But that might be
That's
something
great.
to look into.
I'll definitely
Yeah.
check that.
How do we get back to that student pack? Does anyone know?
I can take a look and see, or I can shoot Jesse a DM this week because I know ours were all in a spreadsheet. Did you guys have those or no?
Yeah,
All right, I'll look for the spreadsheet through the files right after we're done here tonight and see if I can. I'll link it in the C3 students for you guys.
Thank you, Ariel.
Thank
Not a
you.
problem.
Christy, question?
so, I'm just kind of, so I've been working on my capstone and I got my code working, I got everything working, and I'm kind of scared to switch all this over tomorrow because it's just too new. And it's and you know, like it took a lot for me to get to the point of having my capstone worked on. So it seems like we're adding a lot of layers in this. I don't want it to cause too much confusion. I know we're getting down to the wire, but like I got all my capstone stuff to the point where I got it understood and I got it working. And now I'm kind of scared to yeah, I'm kind of scared to
Don't you want to share your capstone with the rest of us?
I can without I can. It's just that okay, so I thought
Sharing
so
is caring.
when we did our portfolios, we bought domain names, and I just thought that once we had a domain name, and then I sent the domain name to all my friends and they could see it, but I didn't have it didn't have a database attached to it at the
Right.
time too. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's moving kind of fast, and today was fast, and
Yeah.
my nerves and if my code doesn't work, I'm gonna freak out because I got
I know.
it.
I hear what you're saying. I just want take a deep breath and
just give me 2 seconds.
the whole purpose of this week is to get you a deployed working capstone. I'm not going to let anybody walk away from this week without a working capstone. So that's why we're going to dedicate all day tomorrow, all of class tomorrow, to making sure that you walk away with a working capstone. Okay. The other thing I want to point out is that, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on, but the benefit of Git and GitHub specifically, maybe that's one of the parts that you and maybe some of the rest of the class are feeling is complicated in introducing some additional stuff. That part that seems complex and confusing is something that I use on the job so much. I mean, I live and breathe this stuff, and other software engineers that you meet and talk to, they live and breathe the workflows that I'm showing you. Like, I can't tell you how many times I commit and push during the day, and how many times I make pull requests, and how many times I deploy. That's just a normal part of software engineering. That's a normal part of the job. So I understand the nerves about it, but I just want to try to reassure you that this is something that you're going to want to know how to do, and this is something that I'm going to make sure that you walk away with having something working. I don't want anybody to have something broken. I don't want anybody to be stressed out about this, making things more confusing. And one more thing I'm going to throw in. Git also prevents you from having broken code. When you commit code to GitHub, you have the ability to roll back to different versions of your code. So if we do accidentally make a mistake, either by changing the code or introducing bugs or breaking something because we didn't write the correct code, we can look back in time on GitHub and figure out what it was before. So we always have an escape plan. We always have a way to roll back. We always have a contingency plan for how to get back to a known good state. Okay.
Does that
Other
mean
questions?
pass it over?
Yes. And if we have other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we are going to save a little bit for tomorrow, and then we're going to go through tomorrow and do our capstone deploys. Does anybody have any other questions, thoughts?
Yeah, I was wondering how to do a rollback, but if you want to say that for tomorrow, that's fine.
We have time. We still technically have a little bit of time. Would anybody else be interested in seeing a rollback?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So let's say that we royally screw something up. Let's say so we did a bunch of coding just now to change up when the first user and the second user were being created, right?
Yeah.
So let's go look at the backend code, because that's the code that we changed. We can go and look at the history here in GitHub. So the last commit that we made was here, where we fixed the import for Bcrypt. So if I want to roll back to the code where we, right before we changed all this stuff. So here's the other commit where we moved things around. Does this look familiar to people?
Yeah.
I can right click here and say revert changes in commit. If I do that and look at changes, I can push, or sorry. So first I'm going to click on this to see what the contents of this change are. So you can see here that I'm removing the code for the create first user and this create second user. So this is undoing the change that we made. So we're getting rid of this, and then in server.js, we're re-adding that create first user function. Does this make sense to people? We're undoing the code. We're rolling back to what was previously there. Okay. So we've created another commit. Now we'll just push. And no surprise to anyone, we'll go back into the terminal. We're here in the blog backend. We'll do git push Heroku. There's a rollback, which is kind of misleading, right? Because we didn't technically roll back. We rolled forward. We created another commit that undid the changes, and we are now deploying that. So we're kind of not. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Do you have to pull them down to your computer now? So you're working with the same locally?
No, good question. No, because for the reason that I was just saying, we're not rolling back. We're actually undoing changes and committing forward. So let me show in the timeline here. See here, we actually didn't we didn't undo history. We didn't erase commits. We didn't go back in time necessarily. We created a new commit that undid what happened in the past. So we don't necessarily need to pull anything down to our computer. We actually need to push up from our computer. We actually clicked push origin and pushed a commit up.
Right. So I'm saying now that you push the commit on, I don't know if it's the same locally, but online now it's reverted back to what it was prior to making that commit that changed it.
Yes.
Is it the same on your computer though? So like if you
Yes.
open up.
If I open this up and open up db.js, remember we changed db.js here to also after the db sync do the create first user, create second user. Yep, it's reverted on my machine. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, I was trying to answer another question, I think.
Could you run through the whole thing once more really fast?
The revert?
Yeah. Go and open up the commits.
Sure. Do you want to see
history? That's where you get the commits.
history? Yep. I will take you up on that though. Do you want to see a revert? You click the thing that you want to revert and hit revert changes. And now we're going to redo the changes in the revert. So we've got a revert of a revert. This is also something that you can do if you want to. To say that we tested this code and we found out, oh, actually it was good code. You can then re-revert.
So that's just undoing the last commit.
Yes. Yep.
Can you say, oh, you know what? 3 commits ago was where
Absolutely.
I wanted to be.
Absolutely. That's the power of Git. So we could go all the way back here. Remember way back when I added localhost 7000 for some reason, I can revert. So Git's not going to let me because this is so old. And I also changed that localhost 7000 to another string. Do you remember I changed that to the real backend? So technically I can't undo it because I can't undo that because the history is so different. But if we were to find,
it's gone.
you're right, there's nothing actually to change now in present history. But if we were to go and find something else, like let's see, oh, this for example, we could go this far back and we could revert this. Right now we have a revert in progress that I created when I was trying to show a revert of a revert, and it created. Does anybody know what this is? We talked about this yesterday. Does anybody recognize these markers?
I can't see them good enough.
I forgot what it did.
Yeah, I recognize them, but I forget what it was about.
I went
what
really
changed?
quick on this because I wanted you to have a little bit of exposure to what this looks like. This is a merge conflict. And this was produced, Larry, from, or sorry, Doug, this was produced from trying to revert that change that no longer existed. That resulted in a merge conflict right here because it gets not smart enough to understand that we were trying to revert it to take that localhost 7000 out. So it spit this back in here. All right.
Hey,
Other
Nate,
questions, thoughts? Yes.
real quick. Wayne's DB isn't connected and he's not sure why it won't connect and he'd like to work through it if possible.
Yeah, let's do it. Share your screen. We're at that point now that if folks want to drop, if folks are feeling good or don't have any questions, please feel free to drop. Otherwise, we're going to keep answering questions and working on stuff.
Please do the feedback if you're going to head out. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yes, stay on the line. I think we're going to work on, or you have a quick question. Do you want to
It's
go
quick.
first?
As like for the for when you make changes in on your code, like does it show all the changes or is it just showing like what's saved, like what you save? You know, what shows in GitHub under the changes?
just what you have changed since you last committed.
Okay, so after the initial commit, it'll show all the changes you make on your code.
Yes. So, the only thing that will ever show up in there is the changes that you made since the last time that you saved, committed, and pushed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So it's up to you. You know, you can make lots of little commits. So you can be working on your code, save, run over to GitHub Desktop, commit, push. You can do that as often or as infrequent as you want. You can rack up a bunch of changes before you commit, or you can make a bunch of small.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I make like just start working on my code because I barely have none, and then all those changes are in there, I'm gonna have to push all of those individually.
No. You can group it. You can group them all together. A commit can contain tons of little changes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. You're welcome. You don't have to do it one by one. Please don't feel like you have to do that.
Okay. Good night.
Okay. Yep. Code looks good. All right. And you're trying to figure out, Wayne, you're trying to figure out why the tables aren't showing up. I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Okay. Show me the logs for the server. Is the server standing up? Is it crashing?
Yeah.
It's still crashing. Okay. Can you scroll back up until you see something that looks like a useful error? Keep going. There we go. Panic DB problems. Keep going a little bit more. Okay, keep going. Client authentication, no HBA conf. Oh, this is the SSL error that we have that code for. So go and hop in VS Code. That error for everybody else, that error that was on the screen, that shows up if you don't have the in DBJS, if you don't set up the sequelize dialect option. So let's see here. So you create a box to hold your options. If you don't have a database URL, then you use that database. This all looks correct. Oh, spelling, line 20. Reject Y. It's reject unoff. Yeah. And Wayne, one last thing. Hop into server.js real quick. And scroll down to the bottom. Show me the server run section. Server listen. Switch line 129. Switch the dot port at the end from lowercase on 129. Yeah, the very end, the dot port on the process.m. Switch that to uppercase port. All uppercase, PORT. Perfect. Yeah, there you go. This is something for environment variables. The casing matters, and most of the time environment variables are all uppercase. At least Heroku's environment variables are all uppercase. It's something in the documentation that you would have to have read. I'm hoping that having it on the slides and in the code examples will be enough to. Okay, we're ready to deploy. If you want to commit and do a push. Looks great, yeah. Okay, yep. Just wait for this to deploy. From crash to starting, here we go. Looks good up until, can you scroll up and see if we could find something? We're still getting the HBA conf error. I'm wondering if this is because you keep scrolling down. What's it doing now at the very bottom? It's the same error. Okay. I'm wondering if this is because the server just restarted. I'm wondering if we're still waiting on the deploy to occur. Because you've got everything in your code, right? Can you, Wayne, can you make a little change and do the commit and push one more time? Just to be 100% sure. Yeah, just like a new line, anything. You're muted. I don't know.
Yeah, just couple of
Yeah, what's up, Christy?
Oh, when Wayne is done, I want to ask a
Oh, okay.
question.
Okay.
This is how we get in line.
Okay.
ah,
Did you save? Oh, it's chopping that off. It's formatting it. Hit enter right where you're at. Yeah, now save. Oh, it's chopping it off. It's
I think
your
it's
formatter.
I think it's prettier because I have
Yeah. Okay. Hack on. Yeah, hack on one of those. Yeah, perfect.
try again.
Yes, please. We still have issues. Okay. Let's go look at the code one more time in db.js because that's got to be something related to that SSL section. Oh, I see it. Dialect on 17. DIALECT. So swap the A and yeah. Yep. I think unauthorized SSL. Yeah, all that looks good. Yeah, for sure. This is gonna work. Server's running. You're good. And it looks like I'll bet you have database tables too. It looks like everything's running correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. You got a public schema. Nice job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great job. Great job. Cool. Christy, what you got?
Hold on. So I got logged out of, where is it? This is not what I wanted. That's not it. Hold on. So right here, you see where it says bad request for the login. So I just put in my. Why is it? I don't remember did we create passwords or did we
Yeah.
just use our? We did?
No, we made a account on Heroku.
No, I don't remember. See, this one says logged in, so I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah,
if I
close
did.
that. That's an old window from the Heroku login you did in the terminal.
Okay,
If you click on that, don't you have a saved password? Yeah, use that. Yeah, click that.
I thought I did that.
You got MFA? Oh, just click. Ah, shoot.
No, go
It's
back.
gonna ask you to do MFA. Yeah, if you go back, click later.
Later.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to have MFA, but it's your call when you want to turn that on.
Now how do I see that everything is okay?
Go
Resource-
to more and check the logs. That would be the best way to tell if your backend is crashing. Yeah, it's in a crash loop. So see app crash there.
I thought everything was fine.
Well, we've made a couple changes in class. Did you follow along with those changes?
Yeah, I did on my, so where is it? I did on my changes.
Okay.
I
And
don't
you
have
push to Heroku. This is where I'm just going to vent for a second. This is where Heroku is awful. You have to have that window open in order to see the logs when it crashes. But the only way to get it to show the crash logs is to redeploy it so it starts up and falls over.
Okay,
So if you want to see the issue, the best way to do that is to make a change, commit it, and push it. Keep that logs window open, and then go
okay.
back to it and see what happened.
Yeah, because I had some errors in my code and I got rid of I went back and looked at the live share and I got the errors corrected.
Okay.
And everything looked fine, but I didn't have that open. And when I went in to try to look, it had the password thing. So how
Mhm.
do I know if,
Leave that window open. You still have that log window open, right?
yeah, right
Yeah,
there.
right behind us. Yep. Leave that open. Come in here, change something. So add a new line or change a comment or something. We're not on localhost. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, we're not on localhost anymore. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Go make a
Man.
commit.
Where's mine? GitHub Desktop.
Mhm.
Right, there it is. Okay, I did that. Now I do git push.
Push. Yep. Heroku. Okay, now while this is going, switch back to the browser. Yep. Let's see those logs. This is going to tell us as it's running.
Oh, it looks like
There it goes. Panic DB problems. Create first user is not defined. What do you think that means?
that was in where we moved it. We moved it from create first user. And
I see a create second user in there.
right, because I had two. So but I moved it. I moved both of them from here. Remember we had them here and I took them out and I put them here and I followed what you had. You had, I followed what you did. Let's see. Yeah, so this is yours.
But
That's
look
what
up
I-
above. Keep
Up
going up
above.
above. Scroll up. I've got to create second user, and then I also keep going. I also have to create first user function. If you look at yours,
I did too, right here. So
you've
I
got to
have a-
create second. Yep. Where's your create first?
Did I not say move it? Oh, I didn't move it. Oh my God.
Now here's a great here is a great opportunity to use GitHub for what it's meant for. Let's go find it using GitHub. So open up github.com. Let's go look at your old code.
Look up GitHub. Where?
Go
Oh,
to github.com in the browser.
Where is that?
And there's open up, yeah. github.com/. Yep. And then that works. And then go click on your repositories so you can get to that in the top right. Oh, that works too. Yep. Blog front ends down there. There should be we're trying to get to the blog back end. Your repositories, you see that? Yep. Blog back end. Perfect. All right. See that you updated DBJS 3 minutes ago. You see that text there?
Mhm.
Click on that. Okay, so that's the change where we added the extra. Go back in the browser, press the back button, and then click on this update server.js down here. Yep. Scroll down. Keep going. Keep going. There it is. See all this red? This is you deleting or moving that code. So now you can just copy this, all this code that you had.
From here to here.
Yeah, bring it in. That's your code. You wrote it.
And then I need to put it above. Well, see,
Yep.
this is. So I need to put it right above this.
I put it
No.
right here in between the const post and the const second user. Because you're declaring another function. Yep. Perfect. When you use GitHub, when you commit and push, when you follow that workflow, you won't lose code. It'll always be there.
So now I need to commit. Okay, so I need to.
Yep.
I got them in my history. It's not showing me the option to commit it. Oh, I got to, should I save it?
Yes.
Command S. Oh, because I copied and pasted some code I already used? Is that why it's not doing a new commit?
No. Can you drag that GitHub desktop window over? Yeah, there you go. You're in blog backend. So you're looking at the history tab because we were talking about how to revert stuff. Click on changes.
Oh,
There it is. Yep, you're doing great. It's exactly where it should be. Yep, now we push and I get the feeling that this is going to be a working backend deploy.
where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Yep, you're right on it. Yep.
Is this it? Is it moving?
Yeah, give it a sec. It'll start
Okay.
running. Place your bets. Is it gonna work? My money is it's. Oh no, Bcrypt is not defined. Hey, that's the same error we had in class.
Huh? Where is
See
that?
the error right here? Bcrypt is not defined.
What is that? Oh, you know what?
Mhm.
My Bcrypt, you know what? I know exactly what they're talking about. My Bcrypt was different than yours, so I moved it. Where is it? Is that in here?
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the other two questions. If you got
Oh,
that, Christy, are you good?
I think so.
If not, we will fix it
Okay,
tomorrow.
okay, go
That's
ahead.
good.
I think I remember what I did.
Okay, and feel free to check out my code because I've got the Bcrypt stuff in there. Doug, what's up?
So can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Oh, wait, sorry, let me stop sharing.
So this is it running locally.
Okay.
And it's working. But when I go up here,
Cannot read properties of null reading username. So it looks like you've got something nasty going on, but I'll bet you if you go click on the network tab inside of, yep, and refresh. Okay. When you click on that second, click, let me grab the annotate.
the second one down.
Click on this post call right here. What is the response? Okay, so you're getting some posts. Okay, and then same thing for the authors. If you click on authors, are we getting data back from authors? Yeah, totally. And every author comes with an ID, a username, an ID, and a username. Great. All right. Can you go back into the console and show those logs again?
Yes.
Cannot read property of null. So what is home.js 51 if you click on that?
That is right here. It's looking for post or username.
Right.
Is
Okay,
it?
let's go back to the network. So let's look at the call to the post endpoint. So click back into the network tab. Let's look at the posts. Yep. And then just to make this easier, click on the preview tab so we can see this a little bit better. Okay, drill open. Yep. Open the post. Let's look at one of them. Open that. There is no user object being attached to each post.
So it is working when I run it locally. And when I
Okay.
call posts, it's supposed to include user, the attribute username.
So the problem is that it's not getting that user. Each post has a link to the person that wrote it, right? The user.
Yeah, each post has a user ID.
That link is broken. And my guess is when you were copying things over, did you do a copy from the remote table to this?
Oh, I did. So my users probably have different IDs.
Exactly. So this table, all the posts scroll over. Do you see that the column was 4 for every author?
Yes, that's what they used to be. And if I go look at my users, there's only one and 2. And let me look at my old users, 4 and 5. So if I delete these and then do a SQL copy and
of the users table, yeah, if you took that users table from local over, it would work. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll do the rest. I'm going to stick around just in case I run into any more errors.
Cool. Larry, you got to have a tough one if you're hanging around for this. I know you got a tough one. / login. You're muted.
I know I was trying to find it. Too many screens. Yeah. So you said, / login. Okay.
Well, I don't think that that's the issue. I think that technically will work.
Let's see.
Do you
That was
see
coming.
it's probably my fault. I probably put this in, but the issue is if you go back to the code that you were just looking at the front end, notice there's a
That's right.
trailing slash on line 5.
Okay.
I
And I
had the
think,
exact thing.
did I do that in class? Yeah,
I don't think.
I'm sorry about that. Every call that uses API URL tacks on a /. But again, I don't think that's the problem because it's still technically valid. Boy, you are. I love that you're using the terminal Git. I've never had somebody that actually has taken the time to learn it.
Yeah, you've actually inspired me, Larry. I spent all the work I did today and yesterday. I tried to do all my Git from the terminal.
It's quicker to do it from the other thing.
And the other thing too is other people can help you so much easier in the terminal. There's very few people that know how to use the GitHub Desktop. Almost everybody I know uses it through the command line.
Yeah, I was looking at it because the stuff I'm doing in my apprenticeship, it's going to be Gits and pulls and pushes and commits and stuff. So, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. It's frustrating.
Oh, you're
doing
great.
Well, I'm talking about what I have to do for the apprenticeship because I know what I need to do. Logically, I can think through the steps, but implementing it in Ruby is like, okay, or Rails. It was like little stuff like there's a visit that has a user ID and which connects to the user table. And it's, a bunch of connections. So if I do visits.user, it says user method doesn't exist and I'm not trying to use it as a method. But if I put the visits in a variable and then I do variable.users, it gives me access to all the user information now because of that connection through the ID. Somebody else has their hand. See if that worked. Thank you.
It won't. I know that it won't. I know that the double / wasn't the problem. It can't be.
Okay. Let's see.
Mine's working now. Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, you're welcome. Unless you're gonna tell me it works, in which case I'm gonna
That's
feel
success.
really.
Open sesame.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I thought double / wasn't gonna cause any problems, but great. Christy.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going through and the crypt is on the crypt thing will be on server.js. I just went through the whole thing. I don't see
It needs to be in both places.
It needs to be in both, right? That line up at the top where you import the Bcrypt library, you need to have that at the top of your file if you're going to use Bcrypt. And we are now using Bcrypt inside of server.js.
I have it there. I have it there. I just don't.
He went where I could ask him. Did you get to log in? Did you guys happen to log in after you did that fix?
No.
Did you log in on the blog front end?
No, I didn't.
No.
So there's just a Bcrypt require Bcrypt. That's what I have that. So that's the only other.
You want to show me?
So I have it right here, and then it's right here. I don't know, and I have it all the other places in the That's why I don't understand.
Okay, so you have it in server.js. Go over to db.js. This is where we need to have bcrypt, because notice down. Ignore my code. Notice down on your code. Keep going down. Notice how in create first user, keep going. Notice how there's that password bcrypt.hashsync. So we're relying on the bcrypt library to hash our passwords when we insert them into this
Right.
table. So we need to import the bcrypt library here as well.
Up at the top.
Yes.
Oh, so I need to have this, wait, this line. I need to have this line where it says const. I need to have this
Yes.
whole line right here.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sorry. My VS Code's kind of screwed up because I have a merge conflict, and that's where all those funny
That
markers are.
In db.j, that needs to be where in db? It needs to
It
be
can
up-
be, yeah, it should be up there next to the sequelize. Yep. Perfect. That's it.
I don't know why I didn't have it unless I deleted it for some reason.
Well, it was never in there because we didn't have these functions in db.js. We moved them in there.
Oh, right, we moved it. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm like, am I crazy? Okay, wait, okay. So now
No,
I
it's just been a long day.
okay, so now I have to commit. Wait. Added bcrypt. Commit.
Push. Nice.
So this is over
This is
here.
gonna be the one. This is gonna be the one that works. I know it.
It better be because my nerves can't take. There it is, right?
It's starting. The process is starting.
Oh,
I said last one was gonna be the one. I don't want to be a. I don't want you to make me a
I
liar.
got some
this
scratch
time.
offs and they were all losers, so I'm not feeling lucky today. But let's see.
Oh,
Are you serious?
it's line 27 in server.js.
Oh, I thought that was gonna be it. I stuck around.
Oh
just to-
my God.
just to-
I feel sick. I can't take this.
All right, you'll get it. Good night.
Oh, you know what? You know what? I just changed this. It was a capital S and I changed it to a small s because you had a small s. See right here?
Yes. Okay.
That is
Maybe.
crazy. Why is it being so picky? This is terrible.
I have bad code, you're saying?
Right here, you see where that I changed yours was a small s, so I changed mine to a small s because I thought that was what it needed to be. And now I
I don't
just
know.
need to pull.
I don't think it matters.
I didn't think it did either, but that was the line 27 and it was underlined.
Oh,
Are
okay.
Are we
Great.
working?
Great. Good job.
Yay.
Server running.
Thank
Connected.
you. Oh my God. This is why I'm scared.
It's okay. You just have to do it once. That's it.
Oh my God. Okay.
I got this.
Thank you. Let me lower my hand.
Okay. Yeah, go for it, Wayne.
You should probably stick around, Chrissy. Just look.
I think so. I just want to see what's gonna happen.
So I had to restart the server.
Uh-huh.
Look like it's working, right?
It does. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to here. It's just gonna log in.
Okay.
I should clear that first. Maybe. Yeah, good.
Okay. if you go back, it's 2 over to the, or 3 over to the right. Tabs. 3 over to the right. Now 6 over to the right. Now 1. Now 2. 2. No, go 2 to the right.
This one.
No,
This-
one more. One more. One more. There it is. Yep. Click that. Click on the network tab. Yep. Let's look at the login. So the second call to the login invite. Let's see what happens.
This one.
Yep, this second one right here. Just click anywhere in this. Yep.
Holy sh- where did we go?
It just opened up. There we go. Okay. Look at the response tab. So what happened when we called login? What did we get for a response? We got success true message open sesame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you logged in correctly. Now what happened when you fetched login status? You got is logged in set to false. So you logged in correctly on the server, but then when you check the login status, you were getting false. What's up with that?
Yeah, and then also when that happens, I think the server crashes as well. Because
Oh, you have the logs open somewhere?
see.
Oh, you're getting a 404 on the log. Try this. Go back to the app up
Oh.
here.
To this?
Yeah, that's fine. Just open it up. Yep. Oh, this is the back end. Yeah, sorry, close this one. We want the front end. So click your front end tab, which was this thing right here.
This one? No, this one.
Yeah. Instead of /login in the URL, just go straight to the main /root. Yep. Enter. Okay. And then, yeah, click login. Try logging in again as Tesla. Weird. It's logging you in, but then it's redirecting you back to the login page.
Right. I noticed that happen. I was wondering if it was supposed to do that.
No, I think we're stumbling on another bug here. I'll look into this. I think you have everything else covered though that I wanted you to tonight. You have the backend running, you have the database connected, you have all this stuff going.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out. No biggie.
Yeah. I'm sorry it's not working. I'll try to reproduce it on my end and see if I can get that figured out for you.
Oh, so I have a quick question, then I'll let you go because this is.
Did you
so-
log in, Chrissy?
No, I didn't even try. I'm my head. So now that we have this on Heroku, so say that I wanted to go in and decorate and make a blog. So say I wanted to make blog posts and this would, I could actually turn this into a blog.
Yeah,
and it would be
absolutely.
online.
Yeah.
I would
you
have
can
to
show
buy
the
a
URL.
domain name, right? I would have to buy a domain name and then it would be my actual blog. I could decorate it and put all the stuff in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
okay. I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, so in my mind, I was like, because of what you said, I'm like, so we have a legit blog. Like we all
Yeah.
have a legit blog and we can blog on this if we wanted to, and it would be out there on the web.
Yeah. It will be running 24/7.
Cool beans. Okay, that's good to know. Maybe I'm not as scared as I thought. Thank you so
good.
much. My head is spinning a little bit because my nerves, those letters, one letter, one capital letter, one
Yeah.
lowercase letter can take your whole life and turn it upside down.
It will take your whole life. I learned today about that. Well,
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Have a
See
good
you tomorrow.
Yep. Have a great evening. See y'all.
You too. Bye-bye.